Balance is a very personal question. You got to figure out what your version of balance looks like for you. We're patient about the wrong things and impatient about the wrong things. You have to teach yourself that you do difficult things.
What's up, Evan? How you doing, man?
Great. We're here. It's happening.
Oh my God, look at all these famous people you got behind you. That's amazing.
This is where I operate.
This is the studio. Hey, man, I just want to tell you that we really appreciate what you've been doing over the years because you've created so many great videos. You created so much great content, and it's awesome to have that content and that knowledge kind of locked into one channel that you can conveniently go to. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How did all this kind of start? You know, if you can kind of walk us back to the beginning, like what this curiosity for, being better and then communicating that out to other people, like where did this start?
So listen, I think your purpose comes from your pain. I think whatever you struggle the most with is the thing you then want to help other people through. And so I struggled a lot as an entrepreneur. My first business was making no money, was embarrassed, and I wasn't, working, that I was too afraid to ask my friends for help. And so I really isolated myself and felt worthless. I'm also a visual learner, and I'd rather see something than just hear it or read it. And Bill Gates, his story saved my company. And so as I turned my company around, sold it, became a venture capitalist, all that kind of stuff, I've now, what have I done? I learned from Bill Gates, and now for the past 20 years, I've just been teaching other people how to model success and apply it to their own life and business as well.
What was it you learned from Bill Gates specifically that helped?
So I had a software company. It was biotech software, early stage drug discovery, and we were not making any money. I'm making $300 a month. And I told my partner that I quit. And I woke up the next day. It's like, I can't quit. It was the worst day of my life. I'm going to regret it if I don't keep going. And I said, there's got to be somebody who's figured this out. Like, how do you sell software? Somebody's done this. I can't be this stupid. Like, somebody's got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And I just thought of Bill Gates. Like, he was the only guy I could think of who was in software who had a big company.
Right.
And so I was like, how did Bill Gates get started? 0 to 1, not how he makes an extra $1 million now, right? Like, he makes $1 million every second doing nothing probably now, but like 0 to 1, how did he get going? And for him, it was partnerships. So Microsoft really blew up when they made their deal with IBM. So IBM had all the computers out, and Microsoft became the default software on all the IBMs. And that's the thing that blew them up. But Microsoft was already a $7 million company when they made the deal with IBM. Now, that's not huge, but it was 7 million more than what I had at the time. And so, like, how did they get to 7 million? So I went and researched their story deeper, and it was still through more partnerships. So finding other people to partner with. And so I said, okay, I don't know. I got nothing else to lose. I've already quit. I got to at least try this Hail Mary pass. I'm going to try doing some partnerships. And I landed my first partnership deal that paid me $13,500, which may not sound like a ton of money, but I'm making $300 a month. There's no momentum. I thought I was rich. And more importantly, it gave me a model I could do again and again and again. So I landed more partnerships and closed deals with companies around the world. And that's what kind of helped blow up my company. And ever since then, whenever I don't know what to do, I said, somebody's figured this out. I don't have to be the genius, model success, and apply it. And what I've tried to teach other people how to do as well through my content.
How did that evolve into kind of like exactly what you're doing now with your content? Like from owning that business to now, you said you've been doing this type of thing as taking, grabbing content from famous people and putting it out there. What spurred that? Like, how did you get into doing all of this? So the early days of my YouTube, so I've been on YouTube for almost 11 years now. The first video is me telling the story of Walt Disney. And my early videos were telling the stories of famous people who I couldn't get. I mean, there's no clips, very few clips of Disney. There's a couple, but I was telling their story and how they had success. My first top 10 mashup video was on Kanye West. And he's on my wall, back there in the corner. Because my friend for over a decade, Mark Jager, made this blog post about Kanye and Taylor Swift but it's like years after that whole thing happened, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, can we move on? I mean, Kanye does Kanye things, but it bothered me that people didn't want to learn from Kanye.
Yeah.
Like, Kanye's a genius.
I agree.
You can learn a ton from him, but it's overshadowed by the antics that he does, and people are always trying to get him in moments. And he often rises to the bait and takes it, and it becomes this viral clip. It's like, dude won more awards than anybody at his age. He went from being a beats, producer to a rapper to an entrepreneur. You guys know John Legend?
Yeah.
Right? Like legendary singer, but his name isn't John Legend. His name is John Stevens.
Oh.
And John Stevens and Kanye are friends, which already seems weird. Like John Legend seems like the nicest human of all time, right? So humble and nice. And then Kanye, like how are these guys friends? So first off, they're friends. Second, they're sitting in a bar in Chicago when John Stevens is getting his start. And John Stevens says to Kanye, I feel like I'm an old soul. Like I don't belong in this era. My voice is more like Sinatra era. I belong to a different generation. And Kanye says, dude, you should call yourself the legend. And John Stevens says, I can't call myself the legend. Like, what if it doesn't work out? I'm just getting started. and he convinced John Stevens to call himself John Legend. Right? So now you may hate Kanye. You may think he's the biggest XYZ of all time. Awesome. But are you as good a friend to your friends like Kanye is to John Legend? Right? So I made the first top 10 video basically just as a in your face to my friend Mark Drager. Say, Mark, go watch his video and learn from Kanye West. And it was just this one-off thing. But then people loved it and said, hey, can you do Dame Dash? Hey, can you do Jay-Z? Hey, can you do Oprah? Hey, can you do... It was like, okay, yeah, cool. Why not? I'd love to learn from these people as well. So it turned from me just telling their stories to then also trying to grab clips. And every one that we make is meant to be a tribute, right? If I made a top 10 stupidest moments of Kanye, that'd be easy and would probably blow up. Like people would much rather listen to negativity and poking fun at people than actually try to get inspired and do something positive. But it's not, it make me feel gross. It's not what I want to create. So it's like, this is what I've learned from Kanye. And I hope that you can learn, if there's 10 things here, maybe one or two things you can apply to your life and get better. And so we try to condense, hours and hours and hours into 15 minutes of knowledge and motivation and inspiration to help you go off and build a better life.
How do you build all this up without driving yourself crazy, because personal development is fun, but you can also make yourself a little bit nutty with it. So how have you been able to execute on this, put these videos together, and then maybe still have time for other things and to be like a rational person and not fall too deep into like everything's got to be focused in on being a better person 24/7?
So I think balance is a very personal question. You got to figure out what your version of balance looks like for you, right? I look at you guys and like, you got your stacked guns and like, that's not me, right? There it is, right? Like you value that a lot more than I do because I don't look like that, right? I could, but it's going to take me a lot of time in the gym to get there, right? And so I look at, Dwayne Johnson, for example, and in his, he needs to work out like 4 hours a day. So when he's on set, he wakes up 5 hours early so that he can work out and 2 times cardio and 2 times weights. And then he showers and goes to his set. I think that's crazy. But I don't look like Dwayne Johnson, right? Right. You get what you want. So I think you should be crazy. I think you should be crazy all in on your life and what that means to you. And if I stepped into your life, it should be torture for me.
Right?
Like the time that you spend in the gym, I'm going to die. Like this is the worst thing I hate my life if I stepped into your life, right? And it should be the same for me. Like if you're jumping into my life and you're doing the work I'm doing, it should be torture for you. But it's not torture for me because I love it, right? I'm doing my thing. So we judge ourselves on balance and what that looks like against other people's definitions. Where it's like, hey, if you're happy, if you love going to the gym and you love sleeping 10 hours a day and you love making podcasts and you love like whatever your version of balance is, awesome. Go live it.
I think that's one of the reasons why I like the top 10 videos that you put out a lot, because like you'll put out a top 10 on Oprah, on Dwayne Johnson, on Kobe or whatever, right? And you'll watch those videos. But the great thing is that you'll like, I think there was a time when I was trying to figure out better ways to be a better communicator, and I saw your top 10 on Oprah, and then there's a lot of things on interviewing and communication in there, and I took a few things from that. I was like, oh, that's really, really dope. Just like you said that you learned from Bill Gates, you took some things that he had and you inserted into your life, and I think that's super powerful because, there might not be, I might look at the things that you do, and I might not do everything that you do because I'm just like, I can't manage that. But there might be a few things that can actually change the way I operate and change my life.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the goal, I think, with my channel, but also in personal development, because your goal isn't to be the next Oprah. It's to be the best you. Right. And so, like, this is my office here, and I got on my right Steve Jobs, and on my left I got a picture of me when I'm 8 or 9 years old and my parents above me. And I like this contrast because I don't want to be a father like Steve Jobs. He wasn't that great a father, right? I want to be a father like my father was. But I don't want to be a visionary like my father, because he's not a visionary. But Steve Jobs is, right? And so, like, you pull different things. You might hate Steve Jobs for all these things, or hate Ye, right? But, like, you can learn from him and throw away the 98% of the stuff that doesn't serve you and just hang on to the 2 and use that to be better.
Has it ever been unhealthy for you to model yourself after somebody, or have you felt like you've been executing that pretty well?
I don't think I would say unhealthy. I would say it doesn't quite fit. So when you're modeling somebody, I feel like you're trying on their hat. And the hat doesn't quite fit. It serves the purpose of having a hat and protect you from the sun or whatever, and you'll get some momentum, but it's not quite you. And so you've got to make tweaks and adjustments, right? And so that's why I like the exposure to more people. So, you know, like, I love young Les Brown as an example. Young Les Brown is my hero. As a speaker, he's the best for me. I can't be young Les Brown. Like, the way that he speaks and delivers and the stories that he tells isn't me, but I could take little pieces of it. But I think the first step is to emulate. Like, if you guys are launching this show, episode 1, great. You're going to look at Joe Rogan, and you're going to look at Tim Ferriss. You're going to look at whatever other interviewers, Oprah, Larry King, and you're going to take their questions. You say, ooh, Oprah asked that question. I love that. We're going to ask that question. But along the way, you're going to figure out, you know what, like, that question doesn't quite work, and we want to inject this one in. Like, you find your style, but they get you a massive head start, right? Like, they take you 80% of the way, and then you just got to tweak that last 20% to make it your own.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this on your channel before, and maybe you have described it in some fashion, but what's the best way to consume your products? What's the best way to, like, learn how to, like, actually utilize your products? I'm sure you probably have a lot of analysis paralysis type people that learn a lot from you, and they get this great understanding, but then unfortunately they're still kind of nervous or scared to really implement some of what you're saying. So have you ever talked about that? Like, how do you take some of the stuff that you present and then put it into action? So
I like how that question transitioned, because you said, how do you consume, but now it moved towards creation. So I see it as a spectrum. Step 1 is, most people what are they consuming? They're consuming entertainment. They're consuming Netflix and sports, and that's great. But when you can shift the amount of consumption from entertainment to education, is step 1, right? So I'm going to now spend less time just on entertainment content. Doesn't mean stop watching your favorite sports teams or whatever, but you're shifting your consumption from entertainment to education. But a problem a lot of people make is consuming educational content is not enough, right? Like, you guys don't look like you do because you watched a video about how to do a bench press, right? Like, you got to get in and actually do the bench press. You got to actually do the curls. You got to actually do the work. You can't read about doing the curls and feel like that's enough. But what I love doing is, I think it's the consistency that matters. I think people will watch something, or they'll listen to your show or watch this video. They might get inspired in the moment and do something, but it's not consistent enough. But what I do know is that if you got, how many episodes do you guys have of your show?
About 400 or so?
Like 345.
Like 345,
like,
yeah.
If somebody started right now and consumed one of your episodes for the next 400 days or 365, there'll be a different person by the end of 365. You can't help it. Because these guys are going to pull you up. You're going to learn. You're going to push more. You may not notice it on a day-to-day basis, but you'll notice it looking 3 months back or 6 months back, or when you're just like going to the gym. When you lift, you're not feeling anything from day to day, but you look back on the gains in the past 3 months, like, man, look at how much I've grown, right? It's the same thing with personal growth. So what I'm trying to do is get as many different voices in people's heads on a daily basis, so that if you're around Steve Jobs every day and Oprah every day and Ye every day and whoever every day, it's always a positive message for me, right? It's never deflating or negative or making fun of people. It's always something inspirational that I personally learned from. You can't help but grow. You can't help but start to want a better life, to start to take action towards it if you've got all these successful people in your ear every day.
What about patience? You know, you're saying that you want people to try on different hats and.
Wait, who's this guy? This is great.
Sorry, dude.
Coming in from the side.
Yeah. I've been the one that's been in
amazing.
communications with you and your team. So what's up, dude? Thanks for hanging out with us today. Sorry for the abrupt change in cameras and stuff.
I love it.
So anyway, yeah, so how much patience do you have people, or do you want people to have? Because if you're saying, try on a couple different hats and you try one on and it doesn't really fit, how much of that is I want to be like Mark Bell, but his hats really doesn't really fit me because I can't wake up at 4, I can't work out every day, I can't work on my own business. It's almost like I'd be making excuses at that point why I don't want to work hard, but really it's just maybe I'm just not quite there yet, right?
I think people need to flip patience and impatience. I think we're patient about the wrong things and impatient about the wrong things. So most people are very patient with themselves, but impatient with the results. I want to get big. I want to work out. I want to look buff like that. I want to have a successful podcast. I want to, right? You want the results, but then you let yourself off the hook all the time. Like, I'll start tomorrow. I
start on Monday.
Maybe. Right. So you're patient with, I want you to flip it. I want you to have insane impatience with yourself. Like, today matters. Like, today I'm going to lift as much as I can. Like, today I'm going to reach out to as many guests as possible. Today I'm going to make myself proud of the effort, but then having patience with the results. So I think both are important. I just think most people have it flipped.
That's huge.
Let me ask you this, because I've been paying attention to your channel for a while, and recently I started seeing some of the young, pulling up video footage and quotes and stuff from the younger version of all these individuals. What's what spurred you to want to get into that realm? Because when you think, when some people think about it, they're like, they see the end product and they're like, I want to learn from the end product. So what's with the, focus on the younger version of a lot of these notable individuals?
Yeah. So, I appreciate that. So I started a new channel called Starting from the Bottom, and we're trying to find the earliest interview clip of all the people that you know and love and like. So we, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and we just did Jay-Z and Grant Cardone and all these guys, and trying to find the earliest, youngest version of them and sharing it, because I think it's inspirational. I get inspired when I see Jeff Bezos do his first interview and how awkward he is and how nervous he is and how much it sucked. It gives me hope. It's like, man, if he went from that to being the richest human on earth, there's hope. This is amazing, right? The Jay-Z one that we just put up recently, he was talking about just creating Rockefeller, betting on himself, stop letting the record labels dictate the money and who gets paid. But he had no distribution yet. He hadn't figured out how he was going to do it. But you get to see him in dream mode and then actually doing it. His mindset when he was pitching it and nobody believed in him, right? Now, Jay-Z doesn't do that many interviews, and he's so cool, calm, collected, and looking back on the glory days is great, but you get to see him in the prime when nobody believed in him and he was taking that bet on himself. I don't know. I love that stuff.
You could see it.
I love being able to see how people got started.
You can see it 100% in his body language, even that he's kind of tense, he's in a fight, he's got to explain himself the entire time, and he's like, I'm going to prove myself to the world, F all these people, I'm going to take all this on. You can see that in the way that he talks, even though he was polite and he was kind, he didn't seem like he had a problem, but it did seem like he had a massive chip on his shoulder and he had something to prove. And it was that's awesome. And I think that's great, because if you ask somebody to reflect on their success, they're going to give you a much different story, because it's impossible to really give you the truth.
Yeah, it's why I still have all my videos up on my channel. So you can go back. I got 6,000 videos on my main channel.
Whew,
and you can see April
Congrats,
2009,
that's awesome.
My first video uploaded. I'm sitting down, I'm in a suit, I'm sweating, I'm nervous, I had way more hair, all this stuff. And it's embarrassing to go, if I go back and watch, oh my gosh, it's so bad. And you can see me trying to memorize the lines. But but I keep it up there to show the journey, right? Like to see where I got started, because it's often easy for people to look at you guys and say, man, look at these, they're crushing it, they know what they're doing, but you're also 400 episodes in.
Yeah.
Like go back on episode 1, you didn't know what you were doing. So I like showing the early stages, because I think it gives people inspiration and hope to say, like, if that's where they started and here's where they're at, I can do it too.
You look like you're in good shape. You know, I've been following you for a long time, and it looks like you're in better shape now than you've ever been. Can you contribute that to the Doritos that are in the background over there?
Oh, you're going to love this. So I have a strategy called Danda Doritos. So, well, we'll see. We'll see what you guys think of this. So I think when people are on a diet, the common advice is get rid of the junk food from your house. Clear out your house, clear out your fridge, clear out your cabinet of all the junk food, right? I think that's you telling yourself that you suck. You're telling yourself, I'm not capable of being around junk food. I suck. And so what ends up happening is you go to an office party, you go on vacation, you go on a cruise or whatever. And what are you doing? You're stuffing your face because you've taught yourself that unless you're in your perfect environment, nothing happens. And so I love Doritos. My mouth is watering just like looking at these.
I'm getting excited just seeing the bag through the camera.
This is like this is the giant size Doritos.
Oh,
right?
man.
That bag's bigger than your whole body.
It's like the Costco half human size bag of Doritos. But that's my weakness. My mouth is watering so much right now because I just want to eat that bag. But I want to tell myself that I'm stronger than the Doritos.
Got it.
Because damn the Doritos.
I like that.
Damn the Doritos. So these things stay in my office all the time. And like if somebody's eating cookies or Doritos or whatever, I'll take their bag of Doritos, and the sweet chili spicy one, like the purple bag one, that's my real jam. I'll take it, take their bag, bring it up to my nose.
Oh my gosh.
Just like
and be careful, that causes an insulin response.
just enjoy. Can it really? I didn't know. I don't think so.
It absolutely can.
Does it really? Wow, I didn't know that. So, but I'll still do it. I'll put it in, and then I'll put the bag down and walk away. And then in my head, it's like, I am the greatest human on this planet.
You mastered it. You're not worried about it anymore.
Damn the Doritos, man. I think you have to teach yourself that you do difficult things.
Are you worried about the day that people find out that you did all this for selfish reasons just to advance yourself?
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Oh, okay. Well, in my advancement is everybody else's advancement.
100%. 100%.
So I think the greatest thing you can do is build your own confidence. I think we need more self-talk about I'm awesome, right? I think the problem is people feel like they suck. And that's a problem, right? And so you change the inner dialogue by doing difficult things, by saying damn the Doritos. And so I apply this to everything. Like people say, don't hit the snooze, so take the phone and put it out into the kitchen. Right? And like my contemporaries, Mel Robbins and other people are saying, like, put the phone in the kitchen. My weird duck brain says, that's you telling yourself that you suck. Like, if I even thought about that, I need to have the phone right next to me. And I just get up just because.
You have the self-control to do it that way.
You build the self-control.
Right.
Like, it would bother me so much that the Doritos bag is stronger than me. It would bother me so much that I'd have to go off and do it. And you start in micro steps, right? Like you don't just go off and do the most difficult thing, maybe if you're capable, but you start in these micro steps and it starts to build. Just like when you go to the gym, you're not lifting 400 pounds right away. You start with a 5-pound dumbbell.
You doing anything in particular with exercise?
Guys, I really want to get back into it. I broke my neck.
Jesus.
In 2 spots on my tour last year and had a concussion. And
this guy broke his neck for you people, you know? Damn. Come on.
And I stayed on tour. Like I was on tour in Colorado. Everybody says go home. Like I'm not going home. I'm gonna do my tour with a concussion and a broken neck.
Oh my God.
And I sat there at the front for 4 hours with pillows and ice packs on me, doing Q&A and doing my workshop. That's the greatest part of the whole tour, right? Like, how often do you actually get pushed to your max?
Yeah.
Very rarely, right? So even if I failed and sucked, like even knowing that this was the greatest day on my tour was when my wife pulled me off in Kansas City, because it was 3 days after my concussion. and I still went and did it. I refunded everybody the money for the workshop and said, hey, I'm going to be here anyway, guys. Like, let's come hang out and ask me questions. And she pulled me after an hour and a half because I was like blanking out and going to pass out. That's the greatest moment of my life. Like, that's the physical max. I had nothing left in the tank and I got pulled off a stage. I'm so pumped for that.
What's the best 2 or 3 things that you've learned, in studying all these giants over the years?
It's the belief that you're capable of great things. The belief that you are the best in the world at something. Like, you are Michael Jordan at something. What is that thing? And it's probably not what your parents did or what you went to school for or what's happening right now with the people around you. But the belief, like a lot of the people who I profiled and have won had no business winning. Like, you guys have no business making a podcast and making this show happening. Like, the yous from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you're not doing this, right? You have no business being here, and yet you're here, right? And so it's just the belief that it's possible that separates. There's so many people with so much talent that never go anywhere because they don't believe in themselves. I think it's the world's biggest problem, and that's what I'm trying to solve every day with everything I make.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. That was incredible. And, whenever I'm looking to, advance myself and look stuff up, I end up using your channel all the time. I would search for stuff. I used to Google search stuff and that wouldn't work so great. Then I'd shift over to YouTube, and then you became more popular on YouTube, and that was super helpful because, like, oh, Evan's got a top 5 on this guy. He's got a top 10 on that guy. Oh, let me check this out. And it's just been a huge wealth of knowledge, so I really appreciate what you've been doing.
Cool, guys. I love the vibe. I love the energy. Listen, episode 1000, let's do it again.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your day, and have fun with those Doritos.
Much love, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
If you have a podcast or interview show and want me to be a guest on it, I have 2 options for you. There's a link right there next to me. Go click it, and I look forward to being a guest on your show.